Sairam all. Firstly, we offer humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. I would like to welcome our guest, our special guest speaker today, Brother Fize Mohammed. Sairam, brother. Firstly, thank you so much for coming all the way from West Indies to our Region 5, Indianapolis. It's a great pleasure to have you here, and not to talk about the importance, like all our SSC kids, SSSC kids, they're very, very fortunate, including the parents, the Sai Center members, everyone. We don't know how fortunate we are that he is here amidst us. So he has great experiences to talk about and great lessons. So he's here to share everything with all of you. So I want all of you to pay real close attention to whatever he's saying, because these are pearls of wisdom for life. So, and I would like to talk or say a few words about Brother Fize Mohammed. Fize Mohammed is a financial consultant and accountant in private practice. He holds the position of assistant branch manager with a leading financial conglomerate in the Caribbean and is a past public relations officer of Toastmasters Caribbean. He has been a Bal Vikas Guru, SSC teacher for over 3 decades, and previously held the following positions in the organization: 1999 to 2003, National Young Adult Coordinator, 2008 to 10, National Devotional Coordinator, and 2014 to 2021, Deputy Central Coordinator of West Indies. Currently, he is the advisor for Sri Satya Sai Global Council, West Indies. He attended the first SSC training course for overseas devotees in Prashantanilayam in 1981, the first EHV conference in 1986. Anybody knows what EHV stands for? Please, anyone? Education in Human Values. Thank you, Bobby. So, and the 3 World Youth Conferences held in 1997, 99, and 2007, and had the privilege of speaking at Prashantanilayam during the 1999 World Youth Conference and the 2015 World Conference. Through Swami's divine grace and will, Brother Fize was instructed to speak on Sai experience and morality. He has given talks on Sri Satya Sai Baba and his teachings in the Caribbean, Venezuela, USA, Canada, England, and India. In November 2009, a Radio Sai interview was conducted with Brother Fize relating to his journey to Sai. In August 2011, this interview was also aired as a 3-part series on Radio Sai during the holy month of Ramadan. He currently conducts a weekly Sai radio program on the birth, life, and teachings of our beloved Lord, Sri Satya Sai Baba, and a bi-weekly seminar or a webinar where devotees can share their journey to Sai and experiences with Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Now I would like to call upon Brother Fize Mohammed to speak a few words to all of us. Thank you so much, and Sairam.
I offer my most loving and humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of my dear Mother Sai, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, embodiments of the divine Atma, embodiments of divine love, loving Sairam to one and all. It is an extreme joy and honor and a privilege to be here amongst you to share and to receive the love of Mother Sai. I want to express gratitude to our loving Lord for creating this opportunity for me also to relive some precious divine moments with Him and to remind all of us of His message. I want to thank Sister Sharmila for organizing and providing this opportunity for all of us. Not a blade of grass moves, and He has not willed it so. So this gathering of souls can only take place through and except through His divine will. It is very difficult for any one of us to explain or describe who is Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, who is God. Each one of us will have our own personal experience. So I will humbly, through His grace, make an attempt from my own understanding and experience to provide an explanation of who is Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba is considered by many across the globe as the avatar of the age. What and who is an avatar? It is simply God in human form. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated quite clearly that whenever a dharma or evil overwhelms the world to such an extent that mankind threatens to destroy its very existence, this supreme consciousness embodies itself to re-establish righteousness on a firm footing, to re-establish Vedas, to awaken the inherent divinity within each and every one of us, and to show us the pathway back to our real home, which is Ananda or bliss. Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba has been prophesied in many, many religions and by some of the saints and sages. We've spoken about the one of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Vishnu Puran, it is said that Lord Vishnu gave to the sage Markandeya a prophetic glimpse of the avatar, the Kalki avatar, that would walk the face of the earth. All of those glimpses point unmistakably to Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. In the Holy Bible, Jesus said, "He who sent me will come amongst you again," and pointed at a sheep that bleats ba ba. In the Bible it is spoken about He will come in a vesture dipped in blood. And when you look at the robes that Bhagwan wears, it is blood red at times. And then the most detailed of the prophecies is the Islamic one. Irani Ma, a long-time devotee of Bhagwan, while ruminating through a bazaar in Iran, came across a book called The Ocean of Light. And as she opened the book, she saw entitled at the top a prophecy that contained 300 signs of the Great One that would walk the face of the earth. And in that particular prophecy, there are very, very detailed details of this avatar. It talks about the mole on his cheek, that he will give gifts that are light in weight, which is the vibhuti. People will gather under a tree, which we know happens in Whitefield. 300 signs were given by the Holy Prophet about this great one. And then recently, Sri Aurobindo, just when he was about to give up the physical form, he saw a blue light descend on the face of the earth. and he told his very close followers that the Krishna consciousness has once more descended on the face of the earth. Nostradamus speaks about Sri Satya Sai Baba and so many others. But let's look a little bit, and I know what we're about to share in terms of his birth, life, and teachings. To some of us, it is powerful reminders. And some of us who are here for the first time, getting a little insight, will understand a little about this magnificent, supreme, divine consciousness. So his birth was a truly miraculous one. It is said that Mata Ishwaramma, his mother, one day went to fetch a pail of water in a nearby well in the village of Puttaparthi in southern India. And while journeying there, a fiery ball of blistering blue light enveloped her, and she fell in a swoon on the ground. Soon after that, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba ushered himself into this physical existence on the 23rd of November 1926 in the early hours of the morning in this tiny South Indian village called Puttaparthi. Musical instruments started to play of themselves. A live cobra was found under the newborn babe, and the little one's body was covered in the sacred ash called Vibhuti. Miraculous sign. As little young Satyanarayana grew up in the village of Puttaparthi, he started to demonstrate at a very tender age divine signs. The scholars in the village saw in him the coming of a great saint or divine master. At a tender age, he would interpret the scriptures with very great spiritual accuracy. He would enact plays and dramas on the various scriptures. Often, when he was given food to eat, he would give it to the beggars. And at a very tender age, he started composing bhajans. And we all know that the very first one that he composed and sang was Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam. He would materialize out of thin air with a gentle wave of his hand, pens and pencils and gifts for his friends. From one particular tree, as we all know, that wish-fulfilling tree, that tamarind tree, he would pick different types of fruits to satisfy the needs and desires of his friends. And so the fame, the popularity of Sri Satya Sai Baba, his ability to interpret the scriptures and speak so simply this language of spirituality amazed the scholars in the village. And so the fame and the popularity started to spread through the village of Puttaparthi to the nearby towns and villages. Today, outside of India, there are over 2,000 Sai Baba centers spread over 120 countries. And within India, I believe there are thousands of Sai Baba centers. So in every nook and cranny of the universe now, you can experience, you can see, you can gain access because of technology to his birth, his life, and his teachings. But let's look together at some of his physical miracles, which are really astounding and amazing. And devotees, many of us at one time or another would have thought, what was it like in the times of Sri Ram? What was it like to be in the physical presence of Sri Krishna? What was it like to be in the times or in the life of Jesus Christ? And here now, in this 21st century, we are able to access so readily the physical form, the teachings, his life and his mission by just jumping on a plane and flying to Puttaparthi. Swami says in the early days, the yogis had to meditate for months and years to get a glimpse of God. And here we are so fortunate in this Kali Yuga, he says, where he is so accessible and available to everyone. So his miracles on a daily basis, those of us who have been to Puttaparthi and who have seen his videos, with a gentle wave of his hand, he's materialized a sacred ash called the Vibhuti. He has been known to multiply food on many occasions. He has converted water into petrol for a devotee. He can speak any language, though he never went beyond secondary school. He knows the past, present, and future of every single thing and every single one in the universe. No one, absolutely no one, has ever yet seen him physically sleeping. The amount of food that he consumes is not enough to even keep a tiny babe alive. And there are at least 3 documented cases where he has brought the dead back to life. He's materialized surgical instruments out of thin air to perform operations. Devotees, yet he says that my greatest miracle is the miracle of the inner transformation that takes place in the hearts of devotees when they are touched by his most powerful weapon, and that is divine love. As one scientist said, when he looked into the eyes of Sai Baba, he looked into the eyes of divinity. It was as if love was walking on 2 feet. So if we want to understand the fraction of the divinity of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, we must awaken, we must ignite that spark of divine love in our hearts, because that is what he truly is. He is the embodiment of love. And that is why he says love is God and God is love. So having looked at his miracles, let's look a little bit together at his teachings. And his teachings are so simple. A 6-year-old can understand the teachings of this wonderful avatar. And as we said, his greatest teaching is on love. He says there is only one religion, the religion of love. There is only one caste, the caste of humanity. There is only one language, the language of the heart. There is only one God, and he is omnipresent. He says love is God and God is love. Start the day with love. Fill the day with love. Spend the day with love. End the day with love. That is the way to God. He says the self lives by getting and forgetting, but love lives by giving and forgiving. Self is lovelessness, but love is selflessness. So live in love. And that is his greatest message. He says avatars like Rama and Krishna had to destroy one or more individuals who stood in the way of the propagation of dharma or righteousness. But in this Kali Yuga in which we live, where every single one of us is tainted with evil, he said if the avatar were to uproot, there will be none left on the face of the earth. So this is an avatar of mass, not destruction, but mass transformation. And he's using that weapon of divine love. He says when the raging fires of anger, greed, lust, jealousy invade our system and bring about so much of pain and misery, he says apply the soothing, balming, healing effect of divine love, which will act as a fireman to extinguish these raging fires within our hearts. What has he said about service? And essentially, if we were to define what the Sri Satya Sai Baba organization is, it is a spiritual organization engaged in selfless service to awaken the inherent divinity in each and every one of us. And so beautifully he puts it. Service to man is service to God. hands that help are holier than lips that pray. Love all, serve all. So great is Sai Baba's emphasis on service that he says that 1 hour of community service is better than 1 month of meditation. He says if one day you are engaged in japa and meditation and someone comes and knocks at your door, you are to leave that japa and meditation and go and render service to that person. The spiritual benefit so derived will be much greater than the hour or two you may have spent in prayer. But there's a guiding principle in doing seva. He says, do not believe that by doing service you will transform the world. He said it may or may not happen. But he said that is not important. The true value of service, its most visible result, is that it reforms and transforms you. Do service as a spiritual discipline and you will be humble and happy. So devotees, service is designed in such a way that we see Sai in the other person. We have to thank that other person for giving us the opportunity to serve so that we can shatter the ego and feel the oneness with that person. So never feel that you are higher serving someone that is lower. It is for our own personal transformation, and we must be grateful to Swami for providing opportunities so that we can grow and evolve and become closer to the divinity within. What has he said about religion? And when in the initial stages, when I starting to study the teachings of Sai Baba, what really jumped out at me was the universality of his message, which is so beautifully embodied in that Sarva Dharma symbol. He says, let the different faiths exist. Let them flourish. Let the glory of God be sung in all the languages in a variety of tunes. Let that be the ideal. Respect the differences between each of the faiths and recognize them as valid as long as they do not extinguish the flame of unity. He says, I have not come to disturb or destroy anyone's faith, but to confirm each in his own, so that the Muslim becomes a better Muslim, the Hindu becomes a better Hindu, the Christian becomes a better Christian. He said, I have not come to speak on behalf of any particular sect, creed, or religion. I have come to awaken the inherent divinity in each and every one of you. Continue your worship of your chosen God along the lines already familiar to you. There is no need to change your chosen form of God and adopt a new one when you have seen me or heard me, for all names are mine and all forms are mine. Such is the beauty of this avatar, that he is all inclusive, he's all encompassing. What has he said about education? And when you look at Sai Baba's life, he has brought a new vision, a new energy to some of the terms that we have been accustomed to. And in one of those is education. In his teachings and how he has manifested that through his institutions, his talks, and his life, he's put a new twist, a new value on that word education. He says, politics without principles, education without character, science without humanity, business without morality is not only useless, but positively dangerous. The end of education is character, he said. And I really love this particular saying of his. He says, one may be well versed in many branches of secular learning. One may have gained mastery over many worldly skills. One may occupy exalted positions of power and authority. One may have at once command enormous wealth. But if one is not endowed with an impeccable character, which is the greatest of life's possessions, one can forfeit in a trice all the achievements and benefits derived from all acquisitions. Swami warns us. He says, a person devoid of virtue is no better than a mere brute. Character is man's richest ornament, and conduct his real treasure. He says, look at the saints and sages of yesteryear. What is it that has allowed them to become so memorable that people remember them and are inspired by them long after they've left the physical plane? He says, I say to you, it is the character of each one of them. Swami also once said in a divine discourse, he says, if you lose wealth, you can earn more. If you lose property, you can purchase another. He says, if even you lose your wife, you can remarry. But when you lose character, he says, everything is lost. So what can we give back to this Lord? This ocean of compassion, this embodiment of Ananda. What can we give back to him as our greatest gift? He says, I require implicit obedience to my teachings and a transformed life. That is the gift that we can give back to our loving Lord. Give me something, he says, that is yours. When you offer the flower, the leaf, the water, those things already belong to me, he says. Give me something that is yours. Your love, your obedience, but most importantly, your character. And let us bear in mind that his essential purpose is to awaken the divine springs of love in our hearts. He has come to tell us, this is why he addresses us, not as sinners. He addresses us as what? Embodiments of the divine Atma, embodiments of divine love, embodiments of Ananda. He addresses us as our true birthright. And it is really an insult to him for us not to live in that awareness that we are divine. And he keeps reminding us of this particular truth. And in a birthday message, many of you all will know. In a birthday message, he gave the affirmation that you should affirm, I am God. I am not different from God. I am the infinite supreme, the one reality. I am Satchit Ananda, truth, consciousness and bliss. I am Om Tat Sat Om. That is who we truly are. So this avatar has come to awaken, to incarnate the avatar that lies deep within each and every one of us. He has come to ignite the spark of divine love and to allow that love to manifest itself in good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. So we've given a little summary of his birth, his miracles, his teachings, and his purpose. I want to share a little bit about a personal miracle that happened through his grace in my life. In 1983, every year in Trinidad, we have a holiday called Labor Day. I believe you have it in the US as well. Ours is on the 19th of June. So on the 18th of June, we had a bhajan session at a devotee's home. And because the next day was a holiday, we sang bhajans throughout the night until the wee hours of the morning. And I was transporting 3 devotees in my car towards their home when I got into a massive motor vehicle accident. Another car coming in the opposite direction crashed into mine. The damage was so bad that the front of the car almost reached the windscreen. And the windscreen shattered and the splinters went into my face and chest, and I started to bleed profusely. The steering hit me in my chest and I was coughing up blood, and after a while I passed out. For 2 days I lost consciousness. 2 most amazing things happened in this accident. 1, I felt absolutely no pain. And 2, even up to this day, which is 40 years after, the memory of the accident has been removed. I cannot remember, no matter how hard I try, the actual accident. When I sit and think now, the last thing I could remember was singing bhajans and then waking up in the hospital. Through Swami's grace, for whatever reason, that memory has been removed. But after 2 days, I began to regain consciousness in the hospital. And around my hospital bed, I was hearing devotees chanting mantras and pouring tulsi water in my mouth. You know, when you are just about to pass away. And I could hear them saying, Brother Fize is not going to live. But I survived only through Swami's grace and divine will. And after 2 days, I got better and was taken home. And through the loving care of my mother, I got better. That was June 1983. In October 1983, a group of 45 Trinidadians, we journeyed to Puttaparthi, and I get my first interview with Bhagwan. But one devotee who had been there many times told me, she says, Brother Fize, when you go, you would have spent large sums of money. You would have made great sacrifices to go to Puttaparthi. So capitalize on every opportunity that you have to grow and evolve spiritually. So she even mentioned to me, she said, if through Swami's grace you get an interview, you run quickly and sit very close to his chair. So when Swami told the group to go, I ran very quickly and I sat just where he would put his feet. And as the perfect host, he would put on the lights and materialize the vibhuti and make sure everybody was comfortable. And then as he sat on his chair, he looked at me with so much love. He said, and this is the first time he's talking to me on a physical level, he said, it was I who saved you from that accident. And then he did his hand like this, and he said, you drive too fast. And this is a lesson for all of us. He said, start early, drive slowly, reach safely. And that can be applied to every aspect of our lives, especially our spiritual life. But what happens today? We start late, we drive very quickly, and we reach dead on time. And then his hand started to move in a circular motion. So I was actually looking up because I was at a lower level than him. And I saw this pendant actually crystallize out of his hands, and he catches it like this. He's a good cricketer. And I bow my head thinking he's giving it to the other person. And he said, no, you. And as I put my hand, he drops this silver pendant with his form on one side and Om at the back. And then he takes a group of devotees into the interview room. And as he does that, the other Trinidadian devotee says, Brother Fize, please show us. And as I begin to do this, devotees, in less than 1 minute after going into the interview room, Swami comes back out, and he does like this. no exhibition. So I've always kept it now hidden. And in that interview, devotees, there was an elderly gentleman who got up in the interview room. And I'm now 23 years old. I started searching for God when I was 16 years old. Born in a Muslim home, in a broken home, but very much there was this pull towards spirituality. And even though in Islam we look upon God as formless, I was praying to have a God that I could see and touch and have a conversation with. And that dream, that desire was manifested in the form of Sri Satya Sai Baba. And it was a Muslim brother in the mosque that lent me a book on Sri Satya Sai Baba. And that is how I came to know about him. So in 1981, after having made the first trip of the first overseas Bal Vikas Guru training program, Swami had spent 30 days I had spent 30 days in the ashram at that time. And I remember the very first darshan. The taxi had just pulled up in front or at the back of the Purnachandra Hall. And it was Guru Purnima morning. So they ushered us out very quickly. And we sat at the back of the Purnachandra Hall. And then after a while, there was a hush and silence, and the curtain parted. And I see this 5-foot physical form float across the stage. And immediately, I feel this connection with him. And over the next 30 days, with every darshan, every materialization of vibhuti, every divine discourse, all my doubts about him were being removed. And one of the fundamental conflicts that I had in believing in him was reconciling the formless with the form. Because in Islam, if you go into a mosque, you will never see any pictures or murtis, because we believe that God is formless. But in the early days, just to backtrack a little bit, I started studying some of the saints and sages like Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Ramana Maharishi, Paramahansa Yogananda, and then some of the Sufi saints, Imam Ghazali and Jalaluddin Rumi. And that is where I began to feel this deep connection and desire for spirituality. And when I was given that first book, Satyam Shivam Sundaram, the moment I began to read it, I couldn't put it down. I read the entire book in one sitting. But this conflict was there now. How do I reconcile? I felt in my mind that I was being disloyal to my God, Allah, in associating a form with Him. And so this confusion, this doubt, this uncertainty went on for many, many, many weeks. And I sought out Muslim devotees in Trinidad, though they were very few. And I would sit with them for long hours as to how they were able to reconcile the formless with the form. And then after some time, I went back into the mosque and I prayed to Almighty Allah. And I said, Almighty Allah, show me the truth about who Sri Satya Sai Baba really is. And I was guided back into the pages of the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, Allah says, Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. So that means He's within. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, says, he who knows himself knows God. But the verse that really caused the shift in my belief was the declaration of faith in Islam. If you're a Muslim, you're supposed to declare, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, which simply means there is no God but Allah, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, is His messenger. But the Sufi, the mystical men of Islam, interprets the verse not as there is no God but Allah, but that there is nothing but Allah. which is a big difference, that everything is consciousness. And so my doubts were being removed so that more doubts could come. So going back to the interview devotees, when this devotee got up in the interview room and he said, Swami, don't you think we should get Brother Fize married? I don't know where this question came from. But at that age, and now having searched and longed for a God, a guru, a guide, a master, I had found now that in Sri Satya Sai Baba. So marriage was the furthest thing from my mind. I now wanted to build this relationship with this loving Lord and understand myself and find my inner self. So when this person said that, I immediately jumped on my knees and I said, Swami, the only way I will get married is if you choose the girl. Because marriage is serious business. Right, Sai Prashad? And I didn't know what is good for me, but I know my Lord, He would know. And then Swami said, Nahi, nahi, nahi. He said, let parents decide, and I will bless. And it took 8 years after that before my parents decided on one girl. But I still wanted to make sure that this is what Swami wanted for me, not my egotistical self. So I write a letter, take a picture of the girl, and I head to Puttaparthi. Swami was in Whitefield, and I spent 2 weeks there. But every single darshan I would hand him the letter, he would ignore me. In fact, when I look at that trip, I call it the Ignore Upanishad. But on the last darshan, I asked the Sevadal if I could have sat in front. And on that darshan, I took the letter and I allowed it to pour through at about 6 inches above my palms, and I challenged Swami on that day. And I said, Swami, if you take this letter from me today, I know you would approve of the contents. And if you don't, I am on my way to my spiritual path. Then Swami starts to walk. And in Whitefield in those days, that is beautiful Krishnamurti and the huge shed. As he gets about 15 feet from where I am, he stops. He turns around and he begins to walk back to the mandir. So I begin to smile. I begin now to put away the letter. And then Swami stops. And he looks around and he looks directly to where I was sitting. And devotees instantly is in front of me. And he takes these 2 fingers and he plucks the letter from my hand. And I start to cry, I fall on his feet. And he puts his hand on my head and he says, I bless, I bless, I bless. So that's October 1991. I go back home and I get married in 1 month, November the 24th, 1991. And I invite the whole Sai Baba organization in Trinidad, which is about, at that time, there were about 800 devotees. Because Brother Fize couldn't invite one and not invite the other. But then I remember what Swami said. He said, let parents decide and I will bless. So we wanted to get his blessings now more than anything else. But we had no money. Because a wedding with 800 people is a lot of money. So I prayed to him to open a way. And this is what his grace produced. Air India, the airline that we would use to travel from London to India, they had a promotion in the Caribbean where over a period of 3 months, all the passengers that had traveled with them, they put their names into a jar and they would pull it out, raffle it, and whichever name came out first would win a free trip to India. And so one day I get a telephone call from an Air India representative in the US, and she said, are you Mr. Fize Mohammed? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you've just won a free trip to India. And I said, Bhagwan, thank you, Lord. But devotees, I must confess, in the first couple of months in marriage, it was very, very difficult for Brother Fize. Because, first 31 years, it is about I. Then when you get married, the I has to go to we. And then when children come, is we. So I had to move from selfishness now to selflessness, because now you have to think about somebody else, care for somebody else. So often we would have fights and quarrels. And that happened even when we went to Puttaparthi. But the most amazing thing is when we arrived in Prashanti, the room that was given to us was like a wedding suite. No, normally they don't furnish the rooms. But this particular room that Swami gave us, it had a beautiful bouquet of flowers. There were beautiful pictures of Swami. And it felt as a really wonderful welcome by the Lord. And then on the 16th of December, 1991, we get what I call the wedding interview. And Swami took us into the inner interview room. And the first thing he said, he looked at me and he said, "You, Tempa." And then he looked at my wife and he said, "You, hot." And then he says, "Up, down." He took his two fingers and he says, "Up, down, but always together." Over the years, the quarreling has stopped now, and there's more unity and harmony in the home. And then he began to talk to us about marriage. He said marriage is 23 hours and 55 minutes of pain and 5 minutes of pleasure. First 2 years, wife is nice. Next 2 years, wife is knife. And then he said W-I-F-E. He said if you get a good wife, the W stands for wisdom, invited forever. If you get a bad wife, he says it's worries, invited forever. And then he looked at me and he said, "How many children do you want?" And as a father, I said, "Swami, I want a boy first." He says, "Why do you want boy? Girls are better." He says girls take better care of parents. They have more love, more consideration. He says boy only thinks about mother-in-law and father-in-law. I didn't know what he meant by that. And then I said, "Swami, let it be your will." He said, "Acha, I give one boy, one girl." Then afterwards, 2 girls came. And in the next interview, I said, "Swami, the last time you said you give one boy, one girl, now 2 girls have come." He does like this, "What can I do?" And then he got very serious. He looked straight into my eyes and he said, "I give very good children." And today they're 29 and 30. They live and work in Canada. And they are really his children. And they went through Bal Vikas and young adults. So in their own way, they process Swami's teachings and they live his message according to their understanding and interpretation. Devotees, I just want to share a little experience with the pendant. Swami says when he gives these objects out of his love and compassion, he says whenever you're in difficulties, if you hold on to it and pray, it sends a message to him and he comes to your rescue. So on one of the trips, I took my mother with me on one of those trips where we would take groups to Puttaparthi. And after leaving Puttaparthi, we would normally allocate 1 or 2 days for shopping. Because when ladies go to India, they want to buy the whole of India and put it in 2 suitcases. So we went to Delhi in an underground shopping area called the Palika Bazaar. Some of you all will know. So my mother and I went. She said, "Make sure and take the pouch with you with all the travel documents. Because if we lose anything, there's no way we are going back home." So I took the pouch and the passport, the money, the tickets, etc. with me. And while she was going through the stores, she saw this particular kurta. And she said, "This is a nice kurta for you. Why don't you try it on?" So I rested the pouch on the counter. in order to do that, and I forgot it there. And after 2 or 3 visits to other stores, I suddenly realized I didn't have the pouch. And I really became frantic because Mom had, she had said, be careful. And I ran back to the stores to see if they had seen the pouch, but nobody had seen it. And then my mother started to quarrel. You are so negligent. We've come so far. How are we going home, And after a while, it became like a recurring mantra in my head. So after a while, I said, Mom, give me a few minutes. And I found a quiet place. And I held on to this pendant of Swami and I prayed, Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, trying to focus on his form. And then after a few minutes, I opened my eyes, and this is what happened. Out of the hundreds of people that were milling around in the shopping area, I see a child no more than 6 years old. He was dressed in immaculate white. And then out of the crowd, he's walking straight towards me. When he's a few feet away, I see him with the pouch in his hand. And he came up to me and he said, Sir, did you lose this? And I was so overcome with joy. I frantically opened to make sure the passport, the ticket, and everything was intact. And that must have taken me about 15 seconds. And when I looked up, there was nobody there. And I said, Swami, thank you, Lord, for grace. And then just one more experience about the pendant. Our family had gone on a vacation in Spain. And my wife loves this football team called, I think it's FC Barcelona. She wanted to go to where this football club is. So we all decided to take a little holiday. And while there, I was invited to do a talk at a Sai Baba center. So there was one devotee translating from English to Spanish. And one devotee in the audience lost his car keys. And in his car keys was his house keys, and he lived very far away from the center. So after the satsang, just like how we were sitting here, they lifted up the mats and the sheets and nobody could find the keys. And he became very sad, very worried, very frustrated. How was he going to get home now? So I'd also shared the story of the pendant with them, and then one devotee came and said, Brother Fize, why don't you pray to Swami with your pendant? And I didn't think about it that time, but I did that. I went into a quiet little corner and prayed to Swami, and then I said, let's continue looking. But in the altars, there was a huge picture of Swami dressed in yellow, the yellow robe. And as I was walking up to where the photo was, I had on this kurta, and suddenly I felt something drop into my left kurta pocket. It just fell into it. And when I put my hand in the kurta pocket, I pulled out this big bunch of keys. And then he said, Sairam, Sairam, those are my keys. And he became so happy. When he looked at the keys, he said, these are the exact keys that I have lost. And we went to Swami's picture and we gave thanks and gratitude to Bhagwan. Beloved devotees, this Lord is the ocean of compassion. He says, if you take one step towards me, I shall take 10 towards you. Shed one tear in my name, and I will wipe 100 from your eyes. Bring me the depths of your mind, no matter how grotesque, how cruelly ravaged by doubts or disappointments. I know how to treat them, for I am your mother, and I will never, never let you go. So some life lessons learned at the feet of the Avatar over the years. I can share one or two with you. Public speaking was the most dreaded thing in my life. I could never have gotten up to speak in public. My whole body would tremble. I would sweat profusely and get bad headaches, because there was a lack of self-confidence. And when I had come back from India on the first trip, being a member of the mosque board members had found out that Brother Fize had gone to India and met this man called Sai Baba and was associating partners with Almighty Allah. At that time, I was the vice president of the youth group. I used to lead the namaz and call the azan. And one day during the holy month of Ramadan, there's a night called the Laylatul Qadr night, where you wake the entire night reading the Quran and singing the glories of Allah. It's like Mahashivaratri, where we sing bhajans throughout the night. And in order to pass the time, I take a book of Sai Baba with me in the mosque. And one of the mosque board members saw the book. And immediately they called an emergency meeting. And they said, Brother Fize is now associating someone else with Almighty Allah. And that is sacrilegious. And immediately they removed my position as the vice president of the youth group. They banned me from leading the namaz and from calling the holy call, the azan. One brother told me, you are no longer a Muslim, you believe in some other religion, you should leave. One brother came and told me, and these were people I had grown up with in the mosque. He said, forget this Sai Baba and come and pray to the only true God, Almighty Allah. And then I told him, I said, I pray to Almighty Allah to show me the truth of who Sai Baba is. And to that truth I will remain loyal. And so after a while I was excommunicated from the mosque. But my mother used to go to the mosque, so I would normally drop her and pick her back up without going inside. But then Swami designed a beautiful reconciliation of what happened in the mosque a few years after. One day I was asked to give a talk in the mosque, and how it happened was this particular person in the mosque came to a Sai Baba gathering and he heard Brother Fize speaking. And I got a call from him that he was celebrating his 65th birthday in the mosque, the same mosque that they threw me out of. And he said, Brother Fize, I want you to do the Fitya message. And I said, Bhagwan, my God, how is this going to happen? So I took Swami's teachings, the very universal and simple one, love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never, and intertwined it with the birth, the life, and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And after the talk, the same mosque board members came up to me and they said, Brother Fize, what a beautiful message. Where did you get these beautiful, simple teachings from? And I had to be so very careful now how I respond. And I said, there's a great humanitarian walking the face of the earth, bringing about a change in humanity. And that is how they began in the mosque to soften their attitude and belief towards myself and the teachings. So brothers and sisters, sometimes we go through a lot of hardship and challenges. But Bhagwan says, even in the challenges, we have to see him in the trials, in the tribulations, because it is for our own good. So brothers and sisters, I see so many children and young adults. So I wanted to say a few words on the importance of SSE, which is Sai Spiritual Education. And as Sister Shamila said, EHV is education in human values. And there are 5 fundamental human values: peace, truth, love, right action, and non-violence. And those values make up the core teachings of Sri Satya Sai Baba. And Swami talks about educare. It comes from the Latin word called educare, which means to bring out that which is latent within the individual. So these 5 human values are already present in each one of us. And through the SSE classes, through the gurus and the teachers using 5 teaching methods, the values are awakened and manifested. So you have good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And to me, it's one of the most important activities in the Satya Sai Baba organization. In fact, Swami has said, educare is the Veda of the 21st century. It is the medium through which world transformation is going to take place, because everybody is in dire need of these human values. They are there, but they need to be awakened and manifested and lived in our day-to-day life, so we become good examples of his teachings. And as we said, if you start early, that means when children are very small, we need to give them the attention and create the awareness, the circumstance, the environment where these human values can blossom forth in human excellence. And one of the most effective methods of doing that is through the SSC and EHV classes. So Baba says it's like a 3-legged stool. You have the parent, you have the guru or the teacher, and you have the child. If you cut off one of the legs of the stool, it will topple and fall. So the 3 must work in unity and harmony together. He said that parents, especially parents, have to be active participants in the character development of their children. If the parents are not involved, if they are not active participants, the whole system will fall apart. So, what is the role of us as parents where our children are concerned? Swami has said 99.9% of parents spoil their children. Parents today tell the child to do something that they are not practicing. They tell the children, don't lie, but they are lying. Don't gamble, but they are gambling. Don't drink, but they are drinking. And that causes hypocrisy and psychological damage in the child. And Swami gave an example where this Balvikas child who had just come from classes, they are taught the value of truth. And the telephone rang, and the little child went and answered it. And it was for his father. So he came back and he said, Dad, Mr. John is on the phone to you. The father tells the child, go and tell him I'm not at home. Imagine this. The father, who is supposed to be the embodiment of God, is telling his own son to tell a lie on the phone. So what does he do? He goes to the phone and he says, my father said to say he's not at home. So parents, we need to walk the talk. We need to be the change. We need to embody the values. A child will follow not so much what you say, but what you do. So the most powerful way of teaching, of influencing, of inspiring is to be a good example in the home. And that is what parents should strive to become. Then when you do that, your child will gain confidence, they will have a role model, they will be inspired to also live a life of human values. So parents, it's very, very, very important that you get involved with your character development of your children. And it leads to another of what Swami has said about a family prayer or family satsang, which is the second of the 9-point code of conduct. And as parents, you'll see the benefit of how Swami has designed this. In our home, just to give an example, every Sunday without fail, we would have this family satsang. And with our 2 daughters, each one was given responsibility to pick the flowers, to set up the altar, and to also do a value-based message. So our little prayers would consist of a Muslim prayer, Christian prayer, Hindu prayer, because Satya Sai Baba, he has not come to teach religion. He's come to teach spirituality, which is the essence of religion, condensed in those 5 fundamental human values. So we respect all other religions and faiths, as you see in the Sarva Dharma symbol. So we begin our little prayer session with that, with the family. Then we sing devotional songs, Muslim songs, Christian songs, Hindu bhajans. And then we do a short period of silent sitting where the child can go within and connect with the inner divinity. And then one child in the home would give a little value-based message. And then we'll have Aarti, Vibhuti and closing prayers where they will do Aarti and touch the feet of the parents. And every single Sunday we would have this without fail. We never allowed anything to come in the way of it. And then after that we will gather as a family in the living room, in the joining room area, and we would have a discussion family-wise, and we would tell our children that they are an integral part of our family, that we value what they had to say. And I'll just give you a quick example of how your children can also become your gurus and teachers. When we used to go around in a circle and everybody had a chance to say a few words. And my eldest daughter, Amrita, said, "Daddy, you're not a good guru." And I said, "How come?" She said, "The last time we were going Bal Vikas, you were rushing and you went through the red light. That is not a good example." And I folded my palms and I said, "Dada is very, very sorry. That will never happen again." So here it is. The child is correcting the parent because we are not doing or living the life we are supposed to live. So again, they are going to follow what you do, not what you say. So we have to be really good examples. But what that did, that family satsang and prayers, it kept the family close together, knitted together. The family that prays together stays together. Now let's diagnose and see the benefits of the family satsang. One, the family comes together at least once a week. Today, we are so busy, even in the house. People are using the phones now to tell their children, "Honey, it's time for dinner." You send a WhatsApp message. When families go out to have dinner, instead of conversing with one another, each one is on their phones doing their own communication. It's so far removed now. That unity and that bond is lost. But the family satsang, this is what can really bring about stability and goodness in the home. So if you look at the components of the family satsang, one, the children learned to respect the equal validity of all faiths. None is greater than the other. As Baba says, if you're a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you're a Hindu, be a good Hindu. If you're a Christian, be a good Christian. So the children learned that through the prayers and the devotional singing. Then in the silent sitting, they get an opportunity to shut out the world and go within and connect with their inner self, which is Swami's primary objective, to awaken the divinity within. The child then gets up and do a 5-minute message. So what happens? She develops self-confidence, the ability to express herself in front of people, and also the discipline of going and researching and putting together a value-based experience or story. And then when the children touch the feet of the parents, it brings about respect and adoration to the parents. Swami has said, when a mother blesses a child, it is as if God has blessed that child. So when you touch the feet of the parents and the parents bless the child, it is as if God has blessed that child. So you see how many benefits accrue when you have that family satsang. And today, at that time, once per month, we would do a service activity in the home where the children would make sandwiches, whether it's peanut butter, and then we would take them to where they would be the hungry and the homeless, and they themselves would give it out. So they also learned the value of doing seva, but also appreciating the goodness that they have. And so we had, the family was praying together, doing seva together, doing satsangs together, going for holidays together. So there was that closeness, that unity, and that bond. And even today, when I go to Canada at age 29 and 30, we are all together, sometimes all of us lying on one bed and making jokes and having fun, doing prayers and going places. But it started at a very tender age. And parents, I'll tell you, if you build this relationship with your children, whenever they have difficulties, sometimes the parents are the last to know what is happening. But if you have this relationship with your child or your children that can arise out of that family satsang, when they are in difficulty, you are the first one they will come to. So it is so important, this family satsang. And wherever we can practice this, devotees, you can see how beautiful the benefits are. So never sacrifice it for anything. Never say you're too busy, or I'm at work, or I can't do this. Your family, your children is your first responsibility, Swami says. In fact, he has said, parents, if you do your duty to the best of your ability, there's no other seva you need to do. Because you are preparing children for the future generation. And Swami sums it up beautifully. If there's righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. If there's beauty in the character, there will be harmony in the home. If there's harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. I know the time is going so quickly, but I'll share one experience of how a Bal Vikas and SSC child actually transformed the parents. In Trinidad, we had a class, and one day a 13-year-old child joined the class. And we had a discussion on meat eating. And he was so moved and impacted by this that he went home and he told his parents. He said, Mom, Dad, from today on, I'm not going to be eating meat. But the parents used to eat meat. And they told him, they said, now we have to cook separately for you. You're putting a lot of pressure on us. He said, I don't care. Swami says it is not good for my spiritual progress. The next morning, when they got up, they saw him in the prayer room doing prayers. And after a while, the parents joined the child in the prayer room. Then the parents gave up meat eating. And then the parents started to come to the Sai Baba Center. And so the family now became closer together. And then in the Bal Vikas classes, we created a family, a parents class, where the parents, while the children were having Bal Vikas, the parents would have their own little discussions. And that even brought the bonds of the family closer together, because they would be discussing issues that parents have in the challenges in bringing up children, whether it's peer pressure or stress, etc. So that even brought the center and the families even closer together. So I really want to emphasize to all of us the importance of the SSC, the importance of parents. If parents are not active participants, it's not going to succeed. And then gurus and teachers, we have a very important role to play as well. Swami had said in the EHV conference in 1986, to us as potential Bal Vikas gurus and teachers, the best way to teach human values is to live it. So he says, when it comes to talking, he says many of us are heroes. When it comes to putting it into practice, we are zeros. So we have to become heroes at living his message, being the change, embodying his values. And one other activity that we had in the class is that we introduced a humor activity in the class to make it more interesting. And just to share with you what we shared with the children, they would bring ideas to us. And we had a session where they would come and share value-based jokes or quizzes. And we gave them the opportunity to do this, and then we would vet it as the gurus before they presented it. And this made the class even more enjoyable. I'll give you an example. One 6-year-old child came to the front of the class and asked the children, what subject would a snake study in school? Do you all know? Then when nobody could answer, the child said, history. Yeah. And then there was another situation where a child said, she reached the school late, and the teacher said, Amrita, why did you reach the school late? And she said, sir, when I was walking to school, I saw a sign that said, school ahead, go slow. So I slowed down. And these things brought the class closer together. The children started to enjoy it because they were also learning human values. And I'd like to play a little game with one of the children to show you how important it is. And what happens here is that in the class, the children learn to love coming to Balvikas so much that when we wanted to give them holidays, so that the gurus can also get a little time off, they said, no, sir, we don't want any holidays. Please, we want to come to Balvikas every week. So now we had to do it every week. And because they enjoyed it so much, they would actually wake up their parent and says, Mommy, you have to come and take us to Balvikas now. So this was the kind of awareness and ambience and attitude the children had while they were learning human values. They were having fun. So I know we're running out of time, but I'll just do one activity to show you how joyful this little activity can be, and it's called Good Chances. And just to give an explanation, Swami says that whenever you get a chance to do good, be good, see good, he says you must grasp it with both hands, because if you let that chance or that opportunity slip through your fingers, it's never going to come your way again. So this game is about good chances, and we play this game, but I need to borrow like a $5 note. Does anybody have? Or $1, it doesn't matter. And in this game, the child is given an opportunity to have fun while learning. So I need a volunteer, and we could probably just do one boy and one girl between the ages of 9 and 12. So with this child hand went up first, come. So tell us, what is your name?
My name is Anish.
Anish. So Anish, explain to everyone what is the meaning and value of the game. What did you learn about good chances? What did Uncle Jess say about when you get a chance to do good?
You have to do it.
Yes, and you should not let it?
You should not let it go.
Right, very good. You should not let it slip through your fingers, okay? So here we are going to do, you're going to put your 2 fingers like this, right? And all Uncle is going to do is drop this through your fingers. Now, if you catch it, how much is this?
20.
If you catch it, it's yours. But if you don't, you have to give me 20. Is that okay?
Okay.
No, that's just a joke. Okay, so how many of you all believe he can catch it in one try? So here's how everybody can help him. Let's just radiate a lot of positive vibrations that he can catch it in one try, because he only has one chance. So here we go. You need to go forward a little bit, right? So you concentrate. Just pick it up for me. So let's do one girl. Do we have... Oh my Lord. Come. Let's give him a round of applause for trying. You could go back and sit. And what is your name?
Gauri.
Gauri, that's a very beautiful name. So tell us, what is the meaning of the game?
You have to take. You only have one chance to catch it.
And how does that relate in terms of doing good? When you get good chances in life to do good, be good and see good, you have to?
Take the chance.
Yes, take the chance, because if you don't, what will happen?
It will slip away.
It will slip away. Very good. Give a round of applause for that. So let's take a seat. So Gauri, let's see. Now I've done this with children all over the world, and there was one child in London, a 6-year-old child, that was able to catch it the first try. So if this child catches this, you will create history in Sister Shamila's home. So, ready? Let's give her a round of applause. So, did you all enjoy that game?
Yes.
Yes. So, when we have activities like these, one, the children have fun, and secondly, they learn human values. And one day when I went back to London and met that child, when I was walking into the satsang, she said, "Look, the dollar man is coming." Because she remembered many, many years after that particular game. So when somebody is enjoying what they do, it stays with them, the value stays with them. So as gurus and teachers, we need to be very innovative, and you can tweak those 5 teaching methods to make it more effective, more enjoyable, so that everybody, the children, will want to come to the class. And this is how Swami's values. Because what does Baba says? He says, be happy. Don't walk around with castor oil faces, because we are embodiments of Ananda. How much time do we have, Sai Prashad? 4 minutes, Hare.
Can we show the video?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is share very quickly a little bit about Trinidad, and then we're just going to share the video. So in Trinidad, where I live, it's about 3.5 hours from Miami by flight. We live the country, the Twin Island is 8 miles from Venezuela. And we have a population of 1.4 million people, and we have approximately 40 Sai Baba centers in almost every village. You can go to a Sai Baba satsang every single day of the week in Trinidad. So if you want to get liberation quickly, every week we build a house for a needy family in 2.5 hours. And you will see it in the video in a little while. And then, Sai Prashad, do you have, right? This is in one of the centers in the city. We prepare 400 meals per day in the evening, and we distribute it. Could you put the other slide, Sai Prashad? And we distribute it to the homeless and the hungry on the streets in the city. And this has been going on for the last 5 years. So over 500,000 meals have been provided every single day. 400 meals are provided. And what this has done, other organizations in the city were inspired, and now they come to the kitchen. And recently we had some of the cricketers like Dwayne Bravo and all of them come and help. And we had Miss Universe from Trinidad and Tobago come and help. So it has expanded now throughout the city area and inspired others to do the same. The other thing is the house building, and this project was blessed by Swami himself. And just to give you a quick explanation of what happened, so when you see in the video, can we stop here? How this happens is that we identify a needy family, then we will go and have a discussion with them, make sure that there is a great need, and then what we do, we cast a foundation of about 20 feet by 30 feet in concrete, and then the next week about 50 devotees, mostly young adults, will go on the site, and each young adult specializes in a specific aspect of building the house. So we chant the Gayatri mantra 3 times. We start at around 6 o'clock in the morning, and by 8:30, the house is completely finished. It's furnished, it's burglar-proofed, and we give them groceries, and then we do a blessing of the home. And the family does not see when the house is building. So when they see in 2.5 hours this house go up, they're very, very, very shocked. They're very grateful, and they have become very emotional. But as we share with them, this is a project of the Sri Satya Sai Baba organization, and we've really come to share love, not really build the houses. But in the walls, it is infused with that divine energy of Swami, because he blessed the project. So we can play the video now and you all will see it.
For some, this never becomes a reality. But Fize Sai Center has been for the last 25 years bringing such miracles to reality in mere hours. Sometimes we walk past board houses constructed from several different kinds of materials, and we may feel remorse for the inhabitants. However, inside these very homes, the living conditions are far beyond our imagination. Here, there are people living with all ages of offspring in these mud-floored houses. Rusted and porous galvanized roofs create unbearable heat on sunny days and drenched bodies on rainy ones. House building seva starts with a preliminary visit to a deserving family. Deserving families are chosen based on needs without any consideration of their religion or race. Once the family is selected, the next step is to begin laying of the foundation, which is usually completed one day before the actual construction of the house begins. The house building process starts at 7 a.m. with the recitation of the Gayatri mantra. Steel wall panels are laid and clad with sheets. The entire process takes an automated feel, with every sevadar understanding his role by accepting the work he is best suited for. Everyone works with one mission: seva and love. Sevadars come from a wide cross-section of the society. Even the physically injured finds his place in the seva. These fire and termite-proof houses are built to withstand hurricanes. To witness the joy on the faces of the receiving families brings tears to the non-initiated sevadars on the project. Eyes and mouths remain agape in disbelief with the pace of construction as an entire house comes together in a few hours, inclusive of the household furnishings, clothing, groceries, and toys.
Lord has come into our life and bless her, that they can live more comfortable. That is my heart. That's my done.
And this morning I want to say to you all, thank God, in Trinidad there are so many angels that came this morning. It was really a beautiful sight to see a group of men started off. Out there you'll see a group of us, we are from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We came to assist, but there was very little that we could have done because the crew was so big and so organized. And just, but I stand up in amazement and watch these guys put up this structure this morning. First time I have seen this. And it was really, really a sight. And the workers wouldn't realize, but everybody, there are a lot of people who are living up inside this road, and everybody passed. The eyes were just gazing. I heard a remark a while back. Oh gosh, boy, so quick a house could go up. I hear houses go up fast and carry road.
We have people who made this dream possible in such a short time. I mean, I thought it was impossible, but seeing it,
Really, this morning, coming along to this activity, it's truly a blessing. Because I didn't expect what I was coming to. I just knew it was, a project was going to take place. But coming and witnessing the activity here today, I would say that it was truly inspirational. As a young person myself, and still discovering so much things about the world around me, to see people come together, work together, and bring upliftment. It resonates with hope for our communities, for this country, and throughout the entire world, because for the Fize organization and its branches, and if this is the type of work they do, I know it has renewed my faith as a human being. And